Alright, welcome to another edition of What the Fuck Happenings here in Mendham. Okay. Intros. Anyway, so just another attempt to reason, okay, with people I don't get. So that's what I sort of titled this morning's video. That's the sermon. I don't get you. And frankly, I don't get you for good reason. Because what you're talking is just plain shit. You're selling, crap. You're telling me it's delicious when I know it ain't going to be delicious. Hope, everything's going to work out just fine. We're not paying too much. It's just obvious that you're going to pay too much. I'm going to pay too much. It's obvious to me. Way too much for whatever the reward is going to be. A life struggled through. Yes, wonderful. Anyway, for whatever, like I said, for benefits we don't even get to see. We really don't know whether it was all for naught. Just a bunch of waste and struggle. But there's no other game in town to play but the right game. The cop-out game isn't any good. No chance of that producing anything in terms of an outcome. So you have to invest in, the game that has some hope of producing a valuable outcome. Ignoring the rules of the game is not playing the game. That's cheating. Yeah. So anyway, just more arguments about arguing with people and how difficult it is, and how every subject is just layered in bullshit, and it's just so hard to get to the core of it, the kernel that the real disagreement is about. So really the disagreement is about optimism and pessimism, I guess. Some notion that I have more to gain looking forward than to lose. Yeah, the inevitable death. Oh, and how nasty that could be. How many times you might have to do it. You might have to die more than once. More than one critically horrible, life-threatening circumstance. Oh, shit. No, I didn't bargain for that. Sorry. I never raised my hand and said, sure, give me that ticket. Possible, dying 5 times. Maybe you'll do that. No, I didn't buy that ticket. Anyway, so just another video, sort of scattered in the subject, so we'll just see what it does as we jump through it. And see what it provokes in terms of a response from me. And in turn, I suspect you'll have some reaction to my reactions. And go, you're full of shit. Or some kind of bullshit like that. Part of the bargain was that they let the Hatfields share crop on their... Oh, so I was trying to deal with, the current, political crisis, and I'm not saying it's not, it's real shit. I mean, real shit having to real people, really awful. But the politics of Israel and the Arabs and the whole sloppy, ugly mess, it's just that. It's a sloppy, ugly mess. There's, the solution is you should have done it right instead of doing it the wrong way. And this, so I tried to just make it a Hatfields McCoys, and the Hatfields capture some McCoys, and then they're responsible for their welfare, and that's really not going to work. And it's just, it's got all of the signs that it's not going to go anywhere any better than what happened in World War II. So you're just, you're inviting the same kind of genocidal endgame, and that's not supposed to be a viable option. But it seems like you're almost entrapped yourself into no other choice than it has to be one or the other. That you're both not going to be able to share the space. It seems clear. Anyway, so not good. Just whatever. Blah, blah, blah. Avoid this subject is what I should do, because, yes, you just people are just too immature to deal with the truth. So forget it. Let's not bother. Truth gave you the plague. And it was like the 5,000-year plague. You know, you had to... so somebody asked it and posed in a question, you know, about what if the truth, blah, blah, blah. Well, what if the truth, to preserve the truth, meant that everybody else gets saved and you have to pay the ultimate price? What if the truth is that you die horribly, everybody else lives wonderfully? What if that's the truth? Are you going to defend the truth? Or are you going to have the courage to, you know, take the truth medicine? And as I point out in the video, I'm not saying I'm above being a weasel. I'm just saying I do know better, and I probably am going to force myself, you know, I'll stick a gun in the back of my head or something and say, you have to do it. You know, you have to do the right thing. But I'm not going to enjoy it or feel good about it or do any. I'm going to whine and complain and bitch that why me? Because, frankly, yeah, it's a reasonable question. I didn't sign up for any of this shit. Why do I have to be the hero? You know, that's what I'm going to say if I'm going to be a hero. I sound like an articulate spokesperson for a cause? Is that your point? So somebody was comparing me to Jim Jones's last tape recording, which, you know, frankly, you'd have to say is pretty coherent considering the circumstances. And so he went on a pretty good little diatribe, and it was pretty good talk for the end times. So in many ways, that's kind of a compliment, frankly. So, you know, nothing he was saying was all that. You know, he wasn't saying the Earth is flat or something. You know, he was, you know, making a commentary on civilization's a pile of crap. We did our best. We tried to separate ourselves from the gooey, ugly, slimy shit, and we failed, and that's all there is to it. There's no better ending than we'll just gracefully get the fuck out of here. Now, it turns out it wasn't very graceful, but that wasn't his fault, right? The fact that the Kool-Aid didn't work as well as it should have, or could have, or should have chosen a different brand of arsenic or whatever, doesn't change the fact that they were in a hard place, and there was no place, they weren't going anywhere. There wasn't any place good to go. There was no, God didn't provide any bridges to paradise, blah, 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 blah. Well, anyway, so I didn't take it as an insult, frankly. It's just, you know, frankly, I'm just saying, what do you, it's not like Jim Jones ate people. You know, he had a cause. Yes, I would say his reasoning was not correct, but, you know, a lot of people are guilty of that. But that's about all I got to say about it. You weren't going to take care of those, whatever, 700 people, were you? Were you going to take care of them? Were you going to provide a life for them? No. So don't be a hypocrite and say you're all grieved that they're dead, because, frankly, the system failed them over and over and over again. So fuck you, hypocrite. Fair analysis of the thousands of videos, you know, 15,000, whatever the fuck. So some other asshole was whining that I don't make response videos. Well, give me something to respond to that isn't something about me personally. Like somehow I'm personally got some character flaws, or I'm defective. You know, I'm too vain, I'm too this, fuck all that. Who wants to waste time arguing that crap? Yeah, I don't. So find me a video that actually makes a counter argument that's in some sort of coherent form, where they explain how it's okay that evolution kills babies. Baby killing is cool sometimes. It is appropriate in appropriate circumstances. It's okay. Hey, it was, look, there's no denying that people were still having parties and, you know, were powdering their wigs and drinking fancy drinks, even though all their kids and their wives were dying in childbirth. That didn't bother them much. So why does it bother you? Why do you think it's all so rough? Oh, that's not that hard. Even Darwin had to watch his little precious babies die. Think he whined about it? I don't know. That's the counter argument in some sort of stupid form like that? Well, fuck that. I'm not, you know, what am I going to counter argue? Their insensitivity? What's the point? Die. I mean, the whole thing sucks. It's just this shitty, horrible, tedious, laborious. Yeah, so that doesn't even need me to qualify it, right? So that's just the description of this monotonous, tedious process of trying to get from week to week and, you know, do your best to be a decent enough human and try to get some sort of moments of peace and warmth and comfort. And it's really hard to do, frankly. For me, I'm finding it difficult to enjoy this boat ride. It's way too rocky, way too creaky, way too musty, way too moldy, way too shitty. Yeah, I'm just having a hard time putting on the old happy face. See you volunteering, especially I don't see, you know, as much as the Jesus talkers talk the talk. They don't really. Yeah, the whole idea of, you know, I was explaining, look, this is just a burden being here. Once you realize that your brain, okay, isn't the only brain involved, and that all the other brains are just as important, and they all need comfort. So I'm a cat, they're all cats. I can't sit there and say, well, only us black and white cats are really special, and the rest of you colored cats are all not so important. I mean, it's Starbelly Sneetch thing, whatever you want to say, but it's just brains being comfortable. And the fact is that, you know, we're all habituated to an environment that where I have my technology and I have some heat. And I, you know, I have running water, well, almost running water. I almost have comforts. And it's as if, you know, you're trying to be as low maintenance in the circumstance because you know that, yeah, everything you use, somebody else could have used better. Everything you consume, you have to say, did I consume it well? Did I get the most value out of it? Or did I just have it, you know, I bought the Lamborghini, and if somebody else had the Lamborghini, he'd drive it every day, and I kept mine in the garage, you know, some sort of bullshit like that. Again, every single decision you make, every bit of taking you take, you have to think about it. I mean, I keep using the argument that, you know, you marry a woman, let's say, you're a man, you marry a woman. The fact is she would have had a destiny without you, and you have to make sure that the destiny you've created is better than any of the destiny she would have been stuck with. You know, these are a lot of burdens here. There's an awful lot of shit to worry about whether you're getting the job fucking goddamn done. You know, how much of a mess are you, how much paint are you getting on the canvas? You know, how much, you know, you're responsible in a sense for this you know, big vat of hamsters. And you got to make sure they all get food. And, you know, the fact is if you don't do the work of making sure it happens, it ain't going to happen. Some will steal all of it, and this will happen, and that'll happen. So it's all work. It's all maintenance work to even get through your own life in some sort of civilized way. To be able to hold your head up and say, I did the right thing. Ain't that fucking easy. Yeah. It's a terrible frickin' obligation, and that's all life becomes. It is once you have a little bit of intelligence, you just realize there's obligations everywhere. That's all there are, is obligation, 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 obligation. There is no fucking fun left. It's a bad guy. And then I would say that there's other advocates that go too far. You could say some of... Okay, so I was making a comparison between the abortion loonies who kill doctors or blow up a clinic because they're going to save fetuses, and, you know, they're sort of insincere. And I was just making the point that, look, all of these arguments, all of these fights are going to be fought, and the vegetarian one's going to be an interesting one because once people, you know, once it's... I mean, right now, you don't get born a vegetarian, you know, you acquire the knowledge. It's knowledge that makes most people into vegetarians. Knowledge that it's better for their health, or knowledge that it's better for the poor little creatures being abused. That you don't want to be a slave owner. You don't want to be a manager of a concentration camp. You don't want to be putting a coin in that machine. And that ethic is not going to disappear. I mean, that construction of intelligence that makes somebody realize I don't want to be hurting other sensitive animals, and I certainly don't want to breed them into existence for the mere purpose of frankly exploiting and torturing them. These are real subjects. They're not going to go away, and they're just another hurdle for the human race to have to jump through in terms of having to survive the dissension and the hate that's being created among people. So we not only have hate over silly religious ideas, we're going to have hate over real subjects of what's in the best interest of the feeling things on this planet. It's a real subject. You're going to have to deal with it. Just saying. So what's going to be the solution? So when there's 50% of people decide to become intelligent, and okay, so I'm just still on the same subject, just pointing out that it's going to be a civil war of sorts over these kind of subjects. They're going to be real wars, and we don't have the advantage of being able to draw a line somewhere and say the good guys are on one side and the bad guys are on the other. The good guys are going to be your brother and sister. I mean, it's really going to be messy. Not that the Civil War didn't have some of that. He'd hate that idea. Oh, yeah, we shouldn't wash our hands. So some idiot was making some point about how, Jesus was a primitivist, and I sort of believe that that's sort of what Jesus was. He was sort of anti-progress because he kind of thought of humans as being already in, utopia, the Garden of Eden in a way, and that it's their pursuit of gluttony and greed that has soiled that wonderful garden, that somehow humans are made to live off the land, and they really aren't, and it's all bullshit. And the primitive life was a cruel and nasty business of death for no good reason in a lot of cases. So again, Jesus wouldn't be against washing your hands before you did midwiving duties or something. Simple little things that would have spared an awful lot of people a lot of unnecessary harm and death and horror. So I mean, so much pain and suffering in the primitive world was the byproduct of just a tiny bit of ignorance, Damn, and that's why we're really doing this. I mean, it would have been nice if God would have told Jesus that it's microbes that cause diseases, and all you have to do is prevent the microbes from infecting people, and they won't get the disease, blah, blah, blah. It would have been nice if Jesus could have spelled that out as part of his salvation for mankind. It would have been nice if Jesus explained how to make morphine. It's because we can't get bigger without more territory. So now it's one of these political subjects, the whole immigration thing. The whole reason why it exists is because they have to keep increasing the population because the whole economy is dependent on it, and all of the expectations of how people become, how they enhance their ownership is all part of this marketing and renting and owning, and it just they're just falling into the trap. So instead of trying to figure out how to move and migrate to sustainable systems, they're going full bore investing in the unsustainable growth idea. That there's always more land to steal, and there really isn't. You're done. That game is over. So the whole structure is dependent on this bringing more people in than just to feed the inflation of the resources, to keep the price of the resources inflating, so people can claim they're getting rich without doing anything to get rich except sitting on resources, housing being one of those. The lifetime of maintenance required for the poorly engineered birth. Okay, so I like that phrase, the poorly engineered birth. Just how expensive the poor and the ignorant are, and how much in terms of the social functionality they steal, how much they break the leg of, the human civilization, and the damage they do is enormous, and how much they degrade the quality of what life could be if there wasn't all of these parasites, bogging it down. If you got rid of it's like we're more tick than there is animal. There's more ticks on the human race than there is, humans doing productive work, creating infrastructure that, planting, farming, for example, doing anything that's truly valuable. And it's becoming fewer and fewer people have productive jobs, and most people just have jobs maintaining the parasites. You're paying more for, it's like 90% of your taxes is to take care of parasites, to feed the parasites, to maintain them, to keep them from breaking into your house, to do, all of this trouble for this tiny percentage of the population. Well, it's not that tiny anymore. I mean, half the kids are being raised on food stamps. I mean, lots of poorly engineered births. Of fun. No, I can't see that. Can't find it. So then I ended with some little story about some stuff I saw on the street and how I wouldn't want to live their life for 10 minutes, let alone 10 years or 10 times over or 1,000,000 times over. Anyway, so, it's upside down. I don't get you. I don't get the world you want. I don't get the world you want to live in. Just no part of it makes any sense to me. And that's the end. Alright, time. Yeah. Because it goes back to the beginning. Anyway, so, yeah, it's an alright video. It's scattered, and, that's what videos will be for until I get more motivated to construct the progressive argument that I'm attempting to do. Somebody suggested also in the comments writing a book again comes up, and it's just not my thing. I'm not, writing is tough because you want to do it right. You have all the time to do it right. You have the time to construct it right, and so you feel an obligation to do it right, and it's impossible, frankly. I mean, the perfect. You can't perfect it. It's not, it's just never quite does what it needs to do, because you can't say the same thing to 5 different people. You have to say it differently to the 5 different people. They all speak different languages, so to speak. They all emphasize different concepts and words. You have to be polite, or you have to be direct, or you have to be this. And it's all that nuance that just makes it very difficult for me to consolidate things into one statement, because I can never figure out who I'm talking to. Are you a religious idiot? Are you a nature lover? Where's your mental disability? Because I'm going to have to talk around that stupid disability to get you to understand you're disabled. I mean, I first have to get you to be willing to listen before I can explain to you how what you're hearing is fucked up, because you have some crap in your ears. You have some bullshit in your brain, and you have to eject that before you can think straight. And it's a tricky business to get people to eject part of their brain. So I guess if I'm going to use that metaphor. But anyway, enough said. So acceptable video, and we'll just say that and move on. And I'll work on making a pointier knife to stick into your brain. Yeah, and make it better, make it work better. Anyway, so till then, have a nice day. Whatever. I hope you aren't horribly tortured anytime soon. I can't really hope that you're never tortured, right? Because that ain't gonna happen. Anyway, till the next time, and such, and so forth.